The massive ship hung in the darkness beyond Pluto, its metal skin absorbing all light that touched it. Inside, Admiral Colthax stared at the blue-green planet displayed on the main screen. His scaled fingers tapped against the command console as he dictated his report. Observation cycle 5422 complete. Indigenous species shows minimal advancement since previous cycle. They have achieved limited space travel within their own system, but remain unaware of our presence. Recommend continued. Observation without contact. Colthax had been monitoring Earth for 30 years. In that time, he had watched humans waste their resources on wars and entertainment while making only small steps toward becoming a spacefaring civilization. The Xerixian Empire had conquered 12 galaxies by following a simple rule. Watch, developing worlds until they either destroyed themselves or became advanced enough to be worthy opponents. Earth, in his opinion, would likely destroy itself long before it became interesting. Send the report to command, he ordered his second-in-command. Maintain standard monitoring protocols. The Xerixian Empire had placed thousands of tiny sensors throughout Earth's solar system. These devices collected information about human technology, communications, and behavior. All data flowed back to the observation ship where Colthax and his crew sorted and analyzed it before sending summaries back to the Empire. But what the Admiral did not know was that their supposedly perfect system had developed a flaw. Jack Freeman yawned as he adjusted the radio telescope at the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico. The night shift was always quiet, which was why he preferred it. At 45 years old, Jack had spent most of his career listening to the stars, searching for patterns that might indicate intelligent life. He was about to take a coffee break when his computer screen flashed with an alert. The automated system had detected an unusual signal, a repeating pattern hidden within what should have been random background radiation. "That's new," he muttered, suddenly fully awake. He typed commands to isolate the signal and enhance it. The pattern became clearer, a series of pulses that repeated exactly every 12.4 seconds. Jack picked up his phone and called his colleague. "Olivia, you need to come see this. Now." Olivia Martinez arrived 20 minutes later, her dark hair still messy from sleep. She had worked with Jack for 8 years and knew he wouldn't call unless he found something important. "What am I looking at?" she asked, leaning over his shoulder to see the screen. "It's a signal. Definitely artificial. I've been tracking it for almost an hour and it's coming from just beyond Neptune's orbit." Olivia's eyes widened. "Are you saying—" "I'm saying someone or something is out there broadcasting a regular pattern. And it's not one of ours." For the next week, Jack and Olivia worked around the clock, recording and analyzing the signal. They brought in Greg Johnson, a cryptography expert from the university, who helped them begin decoding what appeared to be data packets embedded within the main signal. "This is incredible," Greg said, as the first translations appeared on screen. "These aren't just random pulses, they're observations about us." The three scientists stared at the partial translation. Though fragmentary, the message contained references to human satellites, radio transmissions, and even internet traffic. "Someone's been watching us," Olivia whispered. "For how long?" "Based on the data timestamps, at least 300 years, Greg replied. Jack made the decision to contact government authorities. Within days, a team of military personnel and government scientists arrived at the observatory. The facility was locked down and all staff were sworn to secrecy. General Linda Wells, a stern woman with short gray hair, took charge of the operation. "From this moment forward, this discovery is classified at the highest level," she announced to the assembled scientists. "You will continue your work under military supervision." The scientists were relocated to a secure facility beneath a mountain in Colorado. There, with access to more powerful computers and additional experts, they made rapid progress decoding the alien signals. "It's a monitoring network," Jack explained during a briefing with government officials. "The aliens have sensors throughout our solar system. They've been collecting data on everything we do." "Can they hear us now?" asked the Secretary of Defense. "We don't think so," Olivia answered. "The signals we're intercepting appear to be one-way transmissions to a command ship. We haven't detected any response protocols." "What do they want?" asked the president, who had joined via secure video link. Based on what we've decoded, they're cataloging us, Greg said. Like scientists studying animals in the wild. They don't seem interested in making contact. They're just watching. The president's face grew serious. Can we track the destination of these transmissions? Linda nodded. We believe so, sir. We've detected a large object beyond Pluto that appears to be receiving the data. An alien ship, the president said quietly. How do we respond to this? The meeting lasted hours as they debated options. Some argued for attempting communication, others for developing weapons, and still others for doing nothing to avoid provoking the Watchers. In the end, they chose a middle path. A new agency was formed, the Planetary Defense Initiative, PDI, with a mandate to learn everything possible about the aliens while developing contingency plans for defense. Jack, Olivia, and Greg were among the first scientists recruited. They were joined by experts from around the world as governments united against a potential common threat. Unknown to humanity, this unprecedented cooperation triggered an automatic alert in the Xerixian monitoring system. For the first time in centuries, Earth's threat assessment level changed. On his command ship, Admiral Colfax received the alert with surprise. He immediately reviewed the data and saw something unexpected. Humans working together on a global scale, seemingly in response to detecting his surveillance network. Impossible, he muttered. They shouldn't have the technology to detect our sensors. But the evidence was clear. Somehow humans had become aware of being watched, and they were reacting with unexpected unity and purpose. Colfax sent an urgent message to Imperial Command requesting new instructions. For the first time in his long career monitoring primitive worlds, he felt something he rarely experienced. Uncertainty. Earth, it seemed, might be more interesting than he had thought. Susan Bailey stood at the window of her new office looking out at the Rocky Mountains. 6 months ago, she had been a university professor specializing in international relations. Now she was the director of the Planetary Defense Initiative, in charge of humanity's response to the alien presence. The president is on line 1, her assistant said through the intercom. Susan picked up the phone. Madam President, Director Bailey, I need your assessment. Are we making progress? Yes and no, Susan replied honestly. We've decoded more of their surveillance data, but we still know very little about them. They call themselves the Xerixians, and they've been watching Earth for centuries. What about defense options? We're working on several approaches, but I need your authorization for something unconventional. Go on, the president said. There's a man named Alan Wright. He was a top cryptographer for the NSA until he had a breakdown 3 years ago. He's been in a mental health facility since then, but his work on pattern recognition algorithms was groundbreaking. I want to bring him onto the team. There was a pause on the line. Is he stable? Stable enough? And we need his mind. Do it, the president said. Whatever resources you need, you have them. Just find us a way to deal with these aliens. 2 days later, Alan Wright arrived at the mountain facility. He was a thin man in his 30s with nervous hands and eyes that darted around constantly. Susan met him at the security checkpoint. Dr. Wright, thank you for coming. I know this is unusual. Alan adjusted his glasses. They said aliens. Real aliens. Is that true? Yes. We've detected their surveillance network. We need your help to understand it better. For the first time, Alan's eyes focused directly on her. Show me everything. In the main laboratory, Jack Freeman and Olivia Martinez had been working for months to decode the alien data packets. They welcomed Alan to the team and showed him their findings. These packets aren't just information, Alan said after studying the data for several hours. They're testing our response capabilities. Every time we decode one structure, they change the encryption. It's not communication. It's assessment. Assessment for what? Olivia asked. To see if we're worth talking to or worth destroying. Alan's fingers flew over the keyboard. Look at this pattern. When we broke the first encryption layer, the next transmission changed to a more complex system. They're watching how we respond. Susan reported this discovery to the president and the Joint Chiefs of Staff the next day. So they know we've detected them? General Wells asked. Yes, Susan confirmed. And based on what we've learned from their data, this is standard procedure for them. The Xerixian Empire monitors thousands of developing worlds. When a civilization becomes advanced enough to detect their surveillance, they begin a testing phase. Testing for what purpose? The Secretary of Defense asked. To determine if we're a threat or a potential conquest. Species that fail the tests typically destroy themselves competing for alien technology. Species that succeed earn the right to be conquered rather than eradicated. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. What do you recommend? The president finally asked. A strategy they won't expect, Susan replied. Instead of showing off our best technology trying to impress them, we hide our true capabilities. We let them think we're less advanced than we are. This unusual approach, playing dumb while secretly preparing, was approved after heated debate. For the next year, humanity put on a careful show for their watchers. They made visible progress in decoding the alien transmissions but deliberately slowed their responses, all while building hidden defenses. Deep beneath the ocean floor, inside hollowed-out asteroids and within the moon itself, humanity constructed secret bases and weapon systems. Engineers incorporated ideas gleaned from studying the alien technology, creating hybrid systems that combined human ingenuity with Xerixian concepts. On his command ship, Admiral Colthax was increasingly puzzled by Earth's development pattern. He had seen many civilizations respond to discovery, but humans were behaving differently. They showed surprising skill at decoding Xerixian transmissions, but made no attempts to communicate. They continued their space exploration, but did not deploy weapons or defenses where his sensors could detect them. Their behavior is inconsistent with historical patterns, he reported to his superiors. Request permission to deploy probes for closer observation. Permission was granted and Colthax sent 12 small probes into the solar system. These devices were designed to remain undetected while gathering more detailed information about Earth's technology and defenses, but the PDI had anticipated this move. Their deep space monitoring stations, disguised as scientific satellites, detected the alien probes entering the Kuiper Belt. They're coming closer, Greg Johnson told Susan during an emergency meeting. What do we do? We stick to the plan, Susan said firmly. We let them come, but we show nothing of our true capabilities. Have our lunar base shut down all non-essential systems. The deep ocean facilities should go to minimum power. We need to look like we're still just a planet of squabbling primates who happen to notice their watchers. Unknown to Susan, one of the alien probes had been programmed with a special mission. While the others maintained their observation positions, this probe headed directly for Earth, using advanced stealth technology to avoid detection. Its mission was to land briefly, collect physical samples, and report directly to the command ship. The probe entered Earth's atmosphere on a stormy night over Siberia. Lightning flashes masked its descent as it hurtled toward a remote forest. But something went wrong during entry. A power fluctuation in its guidance system sent it off course, and instead of making a controlled landing, it crashed into the dense forest. The impact created a small crater and scattered alien technology across half a kilometer of wilderness. The probe's emergency beacon activated, sending a distress signal to the command ship. Admiral Colthax received the signal with alarm. Send a recovery team immediately, he ordered. No trace of our technology can remain on that planet. But PDI monitoring stations had detected both the crash and the distress signal. A team led by Commander Frank Wallace was already racing to the site, determined to reach the alien technology before either the Xerixians or rival government forces could claim it. The race to recover the crashed probe would change everything. The helicopter flew low over the Siberian forest. Inside, Commander Frank Wallace checked his equipment one last time. His team included 6 soldiers and 2 scientists, all trained for this moment. 5 minutes to the crash site, the pilot announced. Frank turned to his team. Remember, secure the area first. No one touches anything until Dr. Harris gives the all clear. We have no idea what kind of technology we're dealing with. The helicopter landed in a small clearing near the crash site. The team moved quickly through the trees, their white winter gear blending with the snow-covered landscape. They reached the impact crater just as dawn broke over the horizon. The alien probe had broken into several pieces. The main body was a smooth oval shape about the size of a small car. It was made of a dark metal that seemed to absorb the morning light. Around it, smaller fragments were scattered across the snow. "Perimeter secure," one of the soldiers reported. No sign of other teams. Dr. Ellie Harris, the team's technology expert, approached the probe carefully. She held a device that scanned for radiation and other dangerous emissions. "It's safe to approach," she said after studying the readings. "No dangerous radiation or biological material detected." Frank gave the order to begin recovery. The team worked efficiently, collecting every piece of alien technology they could find. They photographed the site from every angle before touching anything. Each fragment was carefully packed into special containers. "We need to move faster," Frank said, checking his watch. "The Russians will be here soon, and the aliens might be even closer." Just as they finished loading the last pieces into the helicopter, they heard the sound of another aircraft approaching. "Time to go," Frank ordered. The helicopter lifted off moments before a Russian military transport appeared over the trees. As they flew away, Frank contacted headquarters. "Package secured. We have the probe." 3 days later, the alien technology arrived at a secret underground facility in Nevada. Diane Carter, head of the reverse engineering team, waited eagerly as the containers were unloaded. "It's like Christmas," she said, as her team carefully began to unpack the alien device. "Every component tells us something new about their capabilities." The scientists worked day and night to understand the probe. They discovered that while the Xerixian technology was far advanced in materials science and energy generation, their computing systems had unexpected weaknesses. "Their computer architecture is vulnerable to certain types of attacks," Diane explained during a briefing with Susan Bailey. "They never developed the kind of cybersecurity that Earth computers needed. Because of our constant hacking attempts against each other. Can we exploit that?" Susan asked. "Possibly. Their systems seem particularly vulnerable to the kind of distributed attacks our networks have been fighting for decades. This discovery changed everything. While the Xerixians had technology centuries ahead of Earth's, they had a critical blind spot. Human computers had evolved in a constant battle against viruses and hackers, developing defenses that the aliens had never needed. Meanwhile, Admiral Colfax was growing increasingly concerned. His recovery team had found only an empty crater when they reached the crash site. "The humans have our probe," he reported to Imperial Command. "Request permission to escalate monitoring and prepare for direct intervention." His superiors, occupied with conflicts in other sectors, granted limited authorization. They ordered him to continue observation while preparing for possible military action. "The humans remain low priority," the Imperial commander told him. "If they become troublesome, you are authorized to eliminate their technology centers. That should set them back sufficiently." On Earth, the PDI implemented a bold new strategy. Using principles learned from the alien probe, they began modifying Earth's existing infrastructure. The global internet was subtly transformed into a detection network capable of identifying and tracking alien surveillance. Power grids were hardened against potential attacks using principles derived from Xerixian energy systems. Most importantly, they developed a new type of defensive algorithm that could potentially disrupt Xerixian communications. These systems were tested in isolated facilities deep underground, shielded from alien observation. "We're not ready for a direct confrontation," Susan told world leaders during a secret meeting. "But we're not as helpless as they think we are." The leaders agreed to continue the deception. While maintaining the appearance of normal development, nations around the world poured resources into hidden defense projects. Scientists from former rival countries worked together, sharing discoveries and building systems designed to counter alien technology. In orbit around Earth, the Xerixian observation network detected none of these preparations. The sensors saw only what humans wanted them to see: a planet still divided, making modest technological progress. 6 months after the probe crash, Alan Wright made a breakthrough. Working with data from the alien device, he developed a program that could potentially infiltrate the Xerixian communication network. "It's like a vaccine," he explained to Susan. "We inject a small piece of code into their system through their own monitoring channels. Once inside, it replicates and spreads throughout their network. What does it do? Susan asked. Nothing at first. It just watches and learns. But if they ever attack us, we can activate it. The program would disrupt their communications, maybe even their weapon systems. Susan took the proposal to the president. After careful consideration, they decided to deploy the program as a defensive measure. But we need to test it first, Alan insisted. We can't just release it into their network without knowing how it will behave. A testing facility was established on the far side of the moon, hidden from both Earth and Xerixian observation. There, scientists created a replica of what they believed the alien network might look like, based on data from the probe. The tests were promising. The program worked as designed, spreading through the simulated network without detection. But when they ran the final test, something unexpected happened. The program was more effective than they had predicted. Instead of simply infiltrating the network, it began to cause system failures throughout the simulation. Entire sections of the virtual Xerixian network collapsed within hours. This could do more than just disrupt their communications, Alan said, staring at the results in shock. This could destroy their entire network. Susan immediately ordered the program contained. We designed this as a defensive measure, not a weapon of mass destruction. But it was too late. During the testing, a small data packet had accidentally been transmitted into space. The signal, a fraction of the actual program, raced outward, toward the Xerixian observation network. No one noticed the transmission until 3 days later when Alan discovered the error in the system logs. We may have just fired the first shot in an interstellar war, he told Susan quietly. And we did, it by accident. For 3 weeks after the accidental transmission, nothing happened. Earth continued its careful deception, and the Xerixian observation ships maintained their positions. Susan Bailey slept poorly, waiting for the aliens to respond to what they might see as an attack. Maybe it didn't reach them, Olivia suggested during a late-night meeting at PDI headquarters, or maybe it was too small to have any effect. We need to be ready either way, Susan replied. Double the watches on all observation points. If they make a move, I want to know immediately. On the 22nd day after the transmission, everything changed. The monitoring stations that tracked alien communications reported something unprecedented. Silence. Every trace of Xerixian observation activity vanished overnight. It's like they just turned everything off, Jack Freeman reported during an emergency briefing. No signals, no data transmissions, nothing. Did they leave? Asked General Wells. The command ship is still there, Jack said, pointing to deep space telescope images. But it's dark. No energy signatures, no communications. Could our program have done this? The president asked over the secure video link. Alan Wright shook his head. Not the small fragment we accidentally sent. That wasn't enough to cause this kind of blackout. For days, the world's leaders debated what the silence meant. Had the aliens lost interest? Were they preparing for invasion? Or had something happened? To the Xerixian Empire itself? While the politicians argued, a junior analyst named Paul Davidson made a discovery. Paul was 26 years old and new to the PDI, assigned to review archival data from deep space telescopes. He noticed something strange in the light patterns coming from the direction of the Xerixian home cluster. Look at this, he told his supervisor, pointing to his screen. These fluctuations match exactly with the cyber attack simulations we've been running. The supervisor immediately took Paul to Susan's office. There, they displayed the telescope data for the past month, showing changes in the energy output from the distant star systems where the Xerixian Empire was centered. The patterns started 3 days after our accidental transmission, Paul explained, to Susan. At first it was just small fluctuations, but now entire systems are showing power disruptions. Susan stared at the data in disbelief. Are you saying our program did this? Not directly, Paul replied. But it looks like our small data packet might have been a catalyst. Once it entered their network, it exposed a weakness that spread throughout their systems. Susan immediately called the president and the PDI leadership together. Alan Wright confirmed Paul's analysis after studying the data. The defense program we created was designed to learn and adapt, Alan explained. Even the small fragment we accidentally sent had that capability. It entered their network and started analyzing their systems, looking for vulnerabilities, and apparently it found some big ones. We didn't just blind them, Susan realized with growing horror. We might have destroyed their entire communication infrastructure without firing a shot. The implications were enormous. Earth had accidentally launched what might be perceived as a devastating attack against an advanced alien civilization. If the Xerixians recovered, their response might be swift and merciless. After days of debate, the world's leaders decided on a risky course of action. They would send a message to the Xerixian homeworld, offering technical assistance while carefully concealing Earth's full capabilities. The message would be presented as a peaceful gesture, not an admission of responsibility. It's a gamble, Susan told the president privately. If they realize we caused their problems, they might see it as an act of war. But if we say nothing, and they recover on their own, we'll face the same risk. The message was crafted with extreme care. It acknowledged awareness of the Xerixian communications failure, and offered limited technical suggestions that might help restore their systems. It was designed to appear helpful without revealing that humans understood exactly what had happened. The message was transmitted toward the Xerixian homeworld using their own communication protocols, reverse-engineered from the crashed probe. Then Earth waited. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months with no response. The Xerixian observation ship remained dark and silent. Deep space telescopes showed continued disruptions throughout the regions of space controlled by the Empire. During this waiting period, Earth accelerated its defense preparations. The deception strategy was abandoned in favor of open development of protective technologies. Space-based defense platforms were deployed throughout the solar system. The program that had accidentally crippled the Xerixian network was refined and prepared as a last resort weapon. We don't strike first, Susan ordered. But if they come back hostile, we need to be ready. 6 months after the silence began, Admiral Colthax's command ship showed signs of activity. Power signatures flickered to life, and the ship began to move. Earth forces went on high alert, weapons systems tracking the alien vessel. But instead of approaching Earth, the ship began a slow journey toward the edge of the solar system. Deep space monitoring detected a small object ejected from the ship before it accelerated and disappeared into the darkness. The object was a data capsule, programmed to enter Earth orbit and transmit a message. PDI sensors detected it approaching and allowed it to deliver its payload. The message was brief and unexpected. It contained no threats, no accusations, only a formal statement from the Xerixian High Command, acknowledging Earth as a sovereign territory and requesting non-interference. As the Empire restructured itself, "They're retreating," General Wells said in disbelief. "They're actually backing off." "Not just from us," Jack Freeman added, studying the deep space data. "Look at these readings. Similar messages are being sent to multiple star systems. They're pulling back across their entire territory." Susan and her team puzzled over this development for days. The Xerixians were an ancient empire with technology far beyond Earth's. Why would they retreat after a single disruption to their communications? The answer came from an unexpected source. As Earth scientists continued analyzing Xerixian data, they discovered references to other monitored worlds, planets with developing civilizations like Earth. When they directed their observations toward these planets, they detected new signals. "They're talking to each other," Olivia reported with excitement. "These other worlds have noticed the Xerixian silence too. They're reaching out, trying to understand what happened." Earth had not crippled the Xerixian Empire alone. The accident had revealed the observation network to all the subject worlds, creating a simultaneous rebellion across their territory. What had seemed like Earth's isolated action was actually part of a much larger event, one that had fundamentally changed the balance of power in this region of space. 6 months after the Xerixian retreat, Earth received its first direct contact from another world. The signal came from a planet orbiting a star 18 light-years away. The aliens called themselves the Narvani, and like humans, they had been under Xerixian observation for centuries. We detected your transmissions, the message said. We too have freed ourselves from the Watchers. We wish to establish communication. Over the next few weeks, similar messages arrived from 10 other worlds. Each had a similar story. They had been monitored by the Xerixians, noticed when the observation network failed, and were now reaching out to others who had shared their experience. Lisa Bishop, a skilled diplomat who had helped negotiate international cooperation during the crisis, was appointed Earth's ambassador to interstellar affairs. She led the team responsible for establishing communication with these newly discovered civilizations. This is unprecedented, she told the United Nations General Assembly. We've gone from believing we were alone in the universe to discovering 11 other civilizations, all at similar stages of development, all breaking free from the same oppressor. The UN established a new agency to manage these relationships. Teams of linguists, scientists, and diplomats worked around the clock to establish common communication protocols with the other worlds. At the PDI headquarters, Susan Bailey met with her core team to discuss the implications. The Xerixian silence created a vacuum, she explained to them, and into that vacuum, we've discovered not enemies, but potential allies who share our history of resistance. What do we know about these other worlds? Asked General Wells. Jack Freeman pulled up a series of images on the main screen. They're remarkably diverse. Some are water worlds, others desert planets. Their species range from beings that look somewhat like Earth insects to creatures that communicate through color changes in their skin. But they all share one thing, Olivia added. They all developed in isolation, unaware of the other's existence due to Xerixian information control. As communication with these worlds improved, a clearer picture of the Xerixian Empire emerged. They had been expanding through space for thousands of years following the same pattern. Observe developing worlds, test those that detected the observation, and either conquer or destroy them based on the results. We broke their system, Alan Wright said, studying the data from their new allies. Not just their communication network, but their entire method of control. For millennia, they kept developing worlds separated and ignorant of each other. When we accidentally created that disruption, we revealed their network to everyone at once. 6 of the newly discovered civilizations had advanced space travel capabilities and offered to send representatives to Earth. The others were limited to their home systems but participated in the growing interstellar conversation through signals. The first alien delegates arrived 1 year after the Xerixian silence began. They came in small ships, designed not for war but for exploration and diplomacy. Earth welcomed them at a special facility built in the neutral territory of Antarctica. Lisa Bishop greeted the visitors as they emerged from their ships. The Narvani were tall, slender beings with 4 arms and skin that shifted colors with their emotions. The Tekvar representatives were short and stocky with thick fur and 3 eyes. Other species had even more unusual appearances, but all came with the same message, gratitude and a desire for alliance. For generations we thought we were alone, said the Narvani ambassador through a translation device. The Xerixians kept us isolated, watching us develop but never allowing us to discover each other. You humans changed everything. A historic summit was held with representatives from all 12 worlds. Some attended physically while others participated. Through real-time communication links, they shared their histories, their technologies, and their concerns about the future. The Xerixians have retreated, but they are not destroyed, warned the Tekvar ambassador. We must prepare for their possible return. The alliance that formed from this meeting was unlike anything in human history. Each world contributed unique technologies and perspectives. The Narvani had advanced materials science far beyond Earth's capabilities. The Tekvar had developed efficient energy systems that could power entire cities with minimal resources. Others contributed medical knowledge, space travel techniques, and agricultural methods adapted to harsh environments. Earth's contribution was unexpected. While other worlds had more advanced technology in many areas, humans had developed unique approaches to information security and network resilience due to their long history of internal conflicts. Your species' greatest strength came from your greatest weakness, the Narvani ambassador told Lisa. Because you fought among yourselves, you created systems designed to withstand attacks from within. The Xerixians never faced internal threats, so their systems were vulnerable to exactly the kind of disruption your program caused. 1 year and 6 months after the silence began, a final message arrived from Admiral Colthax. It contained no threats or demands, only a formal recognition of Earth and its fellow worlds as sovereign territories, and a request for non-interference as the Empire restructured itself. "They're not coming back," Susan told the President during their final briefing. "At least not as conquerors. The alliance we've formed is too strong now." With the immediate threat gone, Earth turned its attention to the opportunities of interstellar cooperation. The first joint project was a ship built with shared technology from all 12 worlds. It would journey to the edge of former Xerixian space on a mission of exploration and diplomacy. Susan Bailey attended the launch ceremony with Jack, Olivia, Alan, and Paul. They watched as the massive vessel rose from its construction facility on the moon, its hull gleaming in the sunlight. "They thought we were harmless," Susan said quietly as the ship accelerated away from Earth. "That was their biggest mistake." "Not their only one," Jack added. "They never considered that being underestimated might be our greatest advantage." The ship, now just a bright point of light in the distance, carried representatives from all allied worlds. Its name, displayed in multiple alien scripts alongside human languages, reflected the philosophy of this new alliance. Unexpected. As it disappeared from view, Susan thought about how quickly everything had changed. 2 years ago, humanity had believed itself alone in the universe. Now they were part of something greater, a community of worlds united not by conquest but by a shared experience of resistance. "What do you think we'll find out there?" Olivia asked, still looking up at the stars. "I don't know," Susan replied. "But whatever it is, we'll face it together, not just as humans, but as allies." In his quarters aboard the retreating Xerixian command ship, Admiral Colthax made his final entry in the observation log. Monitoring of Sol system permanently discontinued. Indigenous species classification upgraded from primitive to emergent. Major power. Recommend complete non-interference policy. He closed the log and looked at the changing star patterns on his view screen. The empire he had served for so long was transforming into something different. The old ways of conquest were giving way to new approaches. And it had all started because they had underestimated a seemingly harmless blue planet. "Well played, humans," he said to the empty room. "Well played indeed."